Do you think there could be a World War III?
In the last 24 years, I've never seen the geopolitical environment so fractious and so fragile. In the last 20 years, we've had a choice to be involved in conflict. In the next conflict, we may not have a choice.
How dangerous is Putin?
I think he's incredibly reckless rather than dangerous.
Could he literally just press a button and send a missile to the UK?
He couldn't do that because in return, he'd receive the same. And so you end up with this thing called mutually assured destruction.
But if you say he's reckless...
If he tests NATO and NATO responds wholeheartedly...
They're finished. How many years did you spend in the military in total?
24. 5 tours of Afghanistan. It's the best thing I've ever done, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
How many times have you been close to death, do you think?
I don't have more times than I can remember. I've been in mortar strikes, under artillery fire. Guy to my left got killed, guy to my right got his arm blown off. Here's the reality. Someone out there is training to kill me.
Were you married and had kids?
Yeah.
Knowing that when you say goodbye, you may never see them again?
Yeah. No one should ever have to do what the military has to do.
How many friends have you lost?
We've lost quite a few, yeah. Lost a lot of people under my command as well. Yeah.
Hey guys, my producer has literally just popped into the studio and told me that 50% of you have subscribed, which is amazing. That leaves another 50% who haven't. This is absolutely free. Just press that button. You'll be notified every single week when a new episode comes out. It's a no-brainer. Anyway, I really hope you enjoy the next episode. Take care, guys. Cheers. Al, welcome to the show.
Delighted to be here, Dodge. Appreciate it.
Yeah, mate. I'm really looking forward to this one. Let's roll all the way back. What's the most brutal country you fought in?
So I think Afghanistan. For my personally, up front and personal, definitely Afghanistan. There's probably too many stories to talk through. Imagine middle of the night, pitch dark, no moon, mountains that are towering, either side of you, flying up a canyon in a CH-47, which is a heavy lift helicopter. 4 of them. Flying in formation, low level, so you don't get shot down. As you come in, getting close to the target, someone shouts 2 minutes. So everyone locks and loads, gets down on one knee, gets ready, and the pilot shouts 1 minute. All the gunners on the miniguns are getting ready. And as you come into land, the AC-130 gunship, which is a aircraft that sits about 10,000 feet with an artillery piece in it, starts opening up on targets. Apache gunships that are ahead of you start opening up. So it's now like Star Wars. It's bullets going everywhere. And then all of the 4, because we're an American CH-47s, 4 miniguns on each CH-47. And there's 4 of them all open up as well. Just imagine that.
My God.
And it is like a mix between Dam Busters and Star Wars. And then the guy at the back kicks the fast ropes out. And you get onto the fast rope and you slide down the ropes onto the side of a mountain face that's 60 degrees angle, and you've got to fight up that hill to get into the enemy positions to capture your target, and it is carnage.
My God.
But the best thing about any of that environment is the guy to your left and right are the best in the world.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie, the teamwork, the leadership is second to none. And yes, you're full of adrenaline, but it's the best thing I've ever done. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Carnage. Takes a toll after a while. And it's physically hard work because you're at altitude. You're in really rugged terrain. And your enemy's a pretty determined fundamentalist who's probably going to die before he gives up. Yeah, every day.
Did you get a massive buzz every time you went on a mission?
Yeah, to start with, huge buzz, and then you get desensitized to it. It becomes like getting up and doing 9-to-5 job. And only when it goes to the extremes, where you have casualties or killed in action, does it sort of drive that adrenaline again. And I always say a combat veteran is 3 to 1. An individual who's been there and seen it and done it in different ways will be far cooler and more calculated and balanced in their decision making in combat because they've lived and breathed it.
Yeah.
And then before you experience that, it's your final race to run when you're in the military. how would you cope under the pressures of life or death moments? And no one will ever know that in training. You'll only ever know that on operations. And it's, everybody remembers the first firefight they were in, the first gun battle they were in. Everyone remembers the first dead body you saw. And everybody usually remembers the moments where you come closest to death. And it makes you feel even more alive.
Yeah, I bet.
And appreciate everything you have.
How many times have you been close to death, do you think?
I don't have more times than I can remember. I've been such close calls. I got shot in the webbing. Guy to my left got killed. Guy to my right got his arm blown off. I've been in mortar strikes under artillery fire. I've had a suicide bomber go off close to me. I've been in a helicopter that had, pretty much crash landed. It got written off afterwards. Yeah, more than I can imagine. I've been in pretty close calls with the enemy.
Yeah.
And I mean close quarters with the enemy. I don't glorify any of that.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone should ever have to do that. But what I would say, the British military and the elements of the British military I was in are the very best at it. And you got to remember, I always say this, I was utterly dedicated in the military. Because I used to always live by the ethos that someone out there is training to kill me.
Yeah.
Like someone right now is out there in a training camp, in a terrorist training camp, in another hostile nation's training facility, and they're training for one purpose, and that is to kill me.
Yeah.
And so you're in this race of who's better. So when you meet face to face, you're going to win. And that's quite a sobering thought. When you're in the gym and you're like, I'm just going to take it easy today. There's someone else in another gym somewhere else.
Pushing harder.
Yeah. And you may meet face to face at some point.
Yeah.
And so I used to always use that to keep me going.
How many tours have you been on in total?
All up. So I did 5 tours of Afghanistan.
5 of Afghan?
Yeah, 5. Yeah. I kept volunteering to go back. Yeah.
Hold on. Did you say the word volunteer?
Yeah, well, I did 1 with the Marine Corps, and I did 4 our Marines, and I did 4 with our more specialist units. And
so the specialist units are the special forces?
Specialist units.
Yeah, okay.
And I got asked to stay on. I did 6 months. I got asked to stay on for another 6. So I volunteered to stay another 6. And then I did another 2 tours on top of that. Yeah, so 4 in total. All around Afghanistan. So I did 5 tours. I did 2 tours when I was a young Marine.
Yep.
Of the Arabian Gulf. So catching oil smugglers come out of Iraq. They were smuggling oil out and using it to pay either for weapons or for illicit materials. So we had to sneak up on the ships in the middle of the night and use a caving ladder and then climb up secretly and then seize the bridge of the ship before they could lock it down and then sail the boat into an area where the United Nations would then hold them and then sell them off. So that was something else for my first tour. I did a tour in Northern Ireland after the Troubles.
What year was that? What year was your first tour?
2000.
2000, okay.
Yeah.
And then you came back and then went to Ireland?
Yeah.
Okay.
I joined as a young Marine. I did 4 years as a Marine, so the lowest rank.
Yeah. And
then I went back through training again to become an officer. And then I went to Northern Ireland.
Okay.
As a platoon commander, troop commander. I then did... What else did I do? So Northern Ireland, and then the next tour I went on was Afghanistan. And then from then on, sort of 2006, my first Afghan tour, I just kept going back on deployments. Usually short periods of time, apart from the Afghan ones that sort of broke it up.
Yeah. So if we rolled a little bit further back here, what was your upbringing like? And what made you want to get into the military and then work your way up to be probably one of the most decorated in my lifetime that I've seen?
Yeah. So I was brought up in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
So my mum and my dad worked in the oil industry. And then he left my mum, I want to say when I was 7 or 8. So mum was on her own for a bit. We moved house. Mum was on her own for a while, and then my stepdad came on the scene. So my dad pretty much got up and left. I mean, good guy, but he moved to Canada, so it was very little engagement with him. And then the oil crash happened. I can't remember the exact dates because I was knee-high to a grasshopper, but when the oil crash happened, we then moved houses. My stepdad was out of work for a couple of years. And then eventually over time he left. And my mum brought up me and my, 2 brothers, 2 sisters.
Okay.
So there's 5 kids in this really small 3-bedroom house. And I used to share, it was comedy. I used to share a bedroom with my 2 brothers, 2 double bunk beds. And actually interesting. I went to Hazelhead Primary and Hazelhead Academy, which were like 4 or 5k away from where we lived. And when we moved house, we moved out of the catchment area. But my mum managed to keep me in those schools just for continuity. And you get a lot of abuse because I'd moved to quite a rough area. But going to sort of Hazelhead, the catchment area was slightly more affluent. And I always had a bit of imposter syndrome. I used to always get caught in, mix-ups when I was young because I was from out of area and, maybe never had as much money or, the right clothes or the right, brands on.
Yeah.
I used to always get mixed up when I was young. And then...
were you a scrapper? As a kid? In your teens?
Yeah. I was always on the edge of, and this is probably why I joined the military. I grew up in a place called Heathery Fold in Aberdeen, and there were a couple of gangs around there. Give you an example of sort of, who I hung around with my mates. One of my best buddies who I'm still friends with now, who's had a real rough ride. We came home from school. I was 14. I went home. He turned up at my door like 20 minutes later. He lived 3 to 4 doors down. He was like, my mum and dad have gone. I was like, what are you on about? So I said, come on, let's show me. So I went back. They'd moved out of the house completely, apart from his bedroom. Emptied the house. And he says, my mum and dad have gone. They'd got up and left him. It was unbelievable. So I had to take him back to my house, to my mum, be like, hey, mum, his mum and dad have gone. Yeah. And, it was him into social care. Imagine that.
No.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm still mates with him now, but that was and him and others used to hang around, and there's always, running friction with the other groups left and right. You always remember your first sort of scuffle, don't you? I remember going to get shopping from mum and dad and walking through the supermarket, and some other kid punched me clean in the face.
What, for no reason?
No, why? I don't know if I was from the wrong bit or I don't know what I was doing. It was like, shocked me. I was like, holy moly, I've landed. And, so it was pretty rough upbringing. But my mum was always this guiding force. Yeah. I always knew the rule between like really bad and, pushing boundaries. And pushing boundaries. Yeah. And, we were always sort of tearing it up and running around and doing what kids get up to, which I think was a really good upbringing. But I never, ever veered into drugs or, theft or stealing, that sort of space. I was always left of that. But I was more than happy to stick up for myself. Free.
How many years did you spend in the military in total?
24.
24
years.
From the age of?
18. Yeah, so 18, joined up just after my 18th birthday. Yeah. Straight out of school.
Did you have a vision what you wanted to do? Were you one of those people who'd read all the magazines and books and say, I want to be in the military and I want to be like that person. I want to be in the SBS or SAS or Special Force. Did you have any vision of that? Or was it literally like, go in, see what I'm like, and I'll work my way up through there? Yeah,
I think because we lived in a small house and there were 5 kids, I was always outside.
Okay.
So I was always out running around, playing football or in a golf course at the back of my house, like running around the woods and playing soldiers or whatever. That's sort of where it came from. Okay. Like I want to be outside, I want to be active. Wasn't that interested in education after school. So I wanted to join. I think I always wanted to join the forces. You don't really know which bit of the forces, do you? I remember coming home one day from school and the Highlanders, which is a regiment, I think it was the Gordon Highlanders, then were sat in my living room with my mum trying to recruit me because they'd been at school and I'd showed an interest. But I was like, no, I don't want to join them. I want to join the Marines or the Parachute Regiment. Okay. So they were the only 2 I was obsessed with, like the Green Beret or the Maroon Beret. That was it. And so I just wanted to join from a young age. So when I left, this is an interesting story. When I left school, went straight, did my Marine course. I failed it. is generally one of the most defining moments of my life. I went down, thought it was a big deal. You know, I was quite a rough kid anyway. Thought I was fit enough, and I failed it. I came back with my tail between my legs, gutted. It's the only thing I wanted to do. And it's a really important lesson. You know, you get two choices of failure. You can give up and go the other way, or you can use it to shock the system and ensure you will never fail again. And so I worked so hard, went back down, passed it, flying colours. I passed the officer selection, and then I failed my Admiralty interview board, which is like the psychological and the mental bit, but I actually failed it on my colourblind.
Is that right?
Because I'm colourblind.
Okay.
And so I came back, and the Armed Forces Career Office sort of sat me down and said, right, well, listen, you've got the standards to join as an officer, so why don't you join the Army? I said, well, only going to join the parachute regiment. So I went down to Browning Barracks, and I did their potential officer course. I passed that, and I went to do my potential, whatever it is, Sandhurst board. Passed that. The parachute regiment sponsored me to go to Sandhurst, and I went and do the medical in Redford Barracks in Edinburgh. And the guy sort of checks you down, and he goes, have you got any previous medical injuries? Like, yeah, I've got a 16-inch titanium pin in my right leg. No, you can't join until you get the pin out.
Yeah.
I was like, you kidding me? This is like 8 months. So I'm colourblind, I got a pin in my leg, so I can't join. So I went back to a different careers office and just said, I want to join the Marines straight as a Marine.
Yeah, okay.
And this old boy from ex-Highlander division sort of sat me down, patted my shoulder, checked my leg, wiggled my head, put the book up.
Get yourself in.
I was like, in you go.
Quality.
I was like, see you later. I'm in.
Quality.
So I sneaked in.
Would you, when you look at the parachute regiment and you look at the Marines, how would you explain the difference?
Well, one's part of the Navy, one's part of the Army.
Yep.
They're actually very similar. The reality is I got to the end of my Afghan tour in 2006.
Yeah.
I got mentioned dispatches for that tour. And I really, really enjoyed it. I was part of 148 Battery, quite a specialist unit of the Marines. And I was a fire support team commander. So
what does that actually mean?
Basically calling in artillery, mortars. So I was a guy on the front, like drop over there, you know, calling in airstrikes and that sort of stuff.
The delegator.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, it was a high intense job.
I bet.
But
give me an example. When you say it was a high intense job, when were you under the most amount of pressure? At one point, we were calling all sorts in. Where were you?
There's probably there's multiple occasions, but do you remember have you ever seen?
I want to talk about all the occasions as well.
Have you ever seen the clip of the guys that jump on the wings of the Apache? Have you seen that? There's a guy. It's called Marine Ford. Unfortunately, he was killed on the edge of Dragoon Fort, and the Apache pilots come back, and the only way to go get him is to put people on the wings of the Apache.
Okay.
The helicopter,
yeah,
which then lifts up and goes and drops the guys off, and then they bring the body back. That was a massive gun battle that went on for like a day. And we had B-1 bombers, F-16s, F-18s, Apaches, AC-130 Spectre gunships, and I had to coordinate that whole all the fires. And then you had to make sure that, you know, your fires were protected and didn't hit your own people, and then engaged and neutralized the right targets while protecting civilians, while not doing collateral damage, while integrating it with artillery. That was a high intense.
And where would you be then?
So I was actually just in the command post, just behind where it was all going on. But the coordination of all of that, whilst we also had someone missing that we couldn't find, Marine Ford, and we had to identify him, and then I got the Apache come on the radio, and they're like, hey, we got an idea. We can put people on our wings. And I'm like, that's the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard. We can't clear that. And I was like, turned to the boss and went, hey, you need to authorize this. And they authorized it. It's a really ballsy move.
Wow.
And then another time you'd be in a trench, you know, up in Kajaki, the old hell of a firefight going on. You know, people are shouting at you, got to neutralize the position. You've got an F-16 going, hey, I've got 4 enemy combatants coming to your position. They're moving closer, trying to surround you. There's another 7 coming. There's 18 coming in from the dam. And then you've got to work out which assets you're using to engage and neutralize that target. All while in the middle of a firefight, all getting yelled at while trying to coordinate the mortar team or the sniper fire or whatever else. A really high intense situation.
Just for the listener and watcher out there, how do you explain Afghanistan? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What's the intensity? How do you know who's bad and who's not bad? Like, what goes through your mind, and what are you wearing? What are you carrying?
Yeah. I mean, on that tour in particular, you're pretty heavy. So imagine body armor, 8 magazines of ammunition, water, food, helmet, radio, weapon, grenades, all up, you're probably in excess of, I want to say, 60, 70 pounds, 80 pounds.
So,
So what's that, 35
kg?
kilograms?
Bloody hell.
And some, probably. And a guy I always liked, those other guys carrying the electronic countermeasures that stops mines and booby traps, which is like, much heavier. So you got that. The temperature is anywhere, depending on it's a winter or summer tour, you're between 30 degrees, some cases 35 degrees. In winter, it can go right down to like, depending where you are in the country, it can go to minus. Dust, flat. And then on the horizon or surrounded, there's always big mountains, big rocky, arid mountains, very much like Arizona. And then you have these things called compounds, which are the buildings that the Afghans live in, which are everyone's a castle.
Yeah. And
some of these walls like 20 foot tall. And then in amongst all of that, you've got what I would call the Carez system, which is a well dug directly down and then connected to another well. And these things go for hundreds of miles. So since Alexander the Great there, to irrigate the water from the mountains into the desert, they've created this well system. So there's an irrigation system that sits 20 foot below the surface that goes on for hundreds of kilometers. It's called the Carez system. It's a perfect place to hide in or get ambushed by, depending on how you do it. We found ourselves many a times in those wells, fighting it out with the Taliban.
How do you know who's Taliban and how do you know who's a farmer or just a normal bod? Are they all dressed the same? Do you know straight away? Are you guessing?
Yeah, it's really difficult. But mostly they have an ammunition chest rig on, but usually, and they'd have a weapon. The men to your left and right are amazing. They always have your back. If you get in this shit, if something goes wrong, they will help you out. And that's the same on our little Everest jaunt. We knew if something was going to go wrong, your guys would sort you out. Really important.
It must have been bloody hard. When I think about it, going, you don't know who's the baddie and who's not bad and who's good. They know straight away that you're bad for them.
Yeah. And they would hide.
Must have felt like a sitting duck at times.
They would hide in amongst civilians as well.
Yeah, that's my point.
They would often hide.
Like you said a minute ago, you see the magazines and they're carrying a shooter, they'll have a gun with them, whatever. Yeah. But surely if they just covered that up and then covered the gun, you still don't know who's good or bad.
And as they learnt tactics, as they evolved, that's exactly what they started to do at the end of our time. They would ditch their gun really early, ditch their ammo belt, like, hey, it's not me.
Why were you fighting in Afghan?
From my perspective, it was counterterrorism. So it was the terrorism that projected from Afghanistan that arguably caused September 11th.
Yeah.
And then emanated across the world. I mean, Al-Qaeda were based in Afghanistan.
Okay, right.
And, on multiple occasions we banged into them. It gave me, I'll be really honest, it was a real sense of pride that some of the operations we were doing were protecting people in both Europe and, the Western world. Because they were planning all sorts of activities from there.
Give me an example when you're on a mission, when you got night goggles on. You got night goggles. What are you seeing? What are you seeing that other people can't?
Well, everything's green.
Okay.
You have pretty much pure darkness because it's always very little moon that's out. And then when your MVG's on, it's pure green.
What? Sorry, the
night vision goggles on. It's pure green. And you can see almost everything. And in later tours, I was a big fan of, stay low, move fast. Like
stay low, move fast. Okay.
Like less kit and go as fast as you possibly can. Because if you knew the ground and a lot of map reconnaissance early, so checking the map out, knowing the ground, knowing the nooks and crannies, and if you moved as fast as you could outmaneuver the enemy. And the longer people had done in Afghanistan, the more efficient they became at that. And then in your teams, you knew the people who could move fast, and had that instinct. It was really interesting, and a lot of people pay lip service, the sort of alpha males, but that's not true. But you knew there were a couple of guys in each team who would be able to move fast, outmaneuver, and think 2-3 steps ahead of you.
Yeah, okay.
And it was.
Did you know? When you look left and look right, do you know what all their strengths are?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. And
you know what they're capable of, or they're not capable of. Was there anyone that you? No. He's really good, but he's not right up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is like a rugby team or a team around again. You know what the strengths are, but he's a fantastic winger. He's a good double.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
And you'll know, I mean, I've met the most amazing people, the bravest people in my entire life in my military career. Like, these guys are just unbelievable. And some of them, be, good breachers, like guys, remember, you got to go through this door.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that door, there's a guy who's going to want to kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big shot in the dark with MVGs on, and he's probably hunkered down 5 meters, 1 meter away from you with his AK-47 pointing at the door, and you've got to go through it. And it's quite a lot of courage to do that.
What do you think people know you as?
Know me as?
Yeah, like your mates when you'd gone on these tours. What would they know you as? What was your nickname?
Well, my second name is Carns, and I was a firm believer that there were a lot of regular forces on the ground in Afghanistan, and every time we went out and we were successful in our operation, we saved lives.
Yeah.
So, and I'd done one of those tours on the ground, which was kinetic every day, so firefight every day, and we had no support, no Apaches, no gunships, every day. And so when you're in the more specialist units, you got all the support. We need to keep the tempo up to go out, because every time you went out, you saved these guys' lives. Yeah. So I had a personal feeling. So I went out as much as I could and as aggressively as we could, because you're saving lives.
Yeah, amazing.
So my nickname became Carnage.
Carnage, yeah.
You know that anyway. you walked me into that. Yeah, that's what it starts and all that quality. Yeah, Carnage. Yeah.
Quality.
Yeah.
So your day to day, give me an example of a mission. What were you told to do? You're an Afghan. You're saying, right, there's a setup over there. They're all behind enemy walls. I want you to go in, and there's 3 people you need to get. Like, are you there saying, right, we've got 5 minutes to do this. We've got 6 minutes to do this. We planned it all out. What was the process that you go through?
So it depends whether it was, the reality is I always say sort of a vision without a plan is a dream, and everything is in the planning, not the plan. And so we were...
Say that again.
Everything is in the planning, not the plan.
Yeah.
Because the plan will always change.
Yes.
Because the enemy has a vote.
Yeah.
Or the environment has a vote, or something will go wrong.
Yeah.
But the planning, if you've gone through the planning collectively with your team, and everybody knows the phases and the actions on, what I mean by that is if action on helicopter breaks down, action on helicopter shot down, action on casualty, action on suicide bomber, action on the enemy's not there.
Right, okay.
If everybody knows that, then it's instantaneous.
So you got to be thinking 5 moves ahead the whole time.
Instantaneous. Okay. So the planning, so you go through this really big phase, and it's the same with any military operation. You plan this thing till your eyes bleed.
Yeah. And
so when you then roll out in the plan, and inevitably it changes, we end up with a success.
Yeah.
And that would, it'd be, sometime it would be weeks in planning. Other days it would be minutes, and we'd call it a bonnet brief, where you open the map up and go, right, we're rolling.
Did you get up every day yeah, I'm up for this, come on, bring it on? Yeah. Or was there some days you're like, oh man, I'm not feeling this today? Because you're talking about your 5 tours, then you're talking about, when we roll back a bit, you're like, oh yeah, I volunteered to go on the next one. You were just game to protect. You're game and proud of your country.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd done that first tour, so I knew what it was like on the ground.
And that first tour was? It
was 2006-07.
6, okay.
Going out every day. Less IEDs in those days, but every day in a gun battle.
Less IEDs?
So less booby traps and explosives.
That was more in 2003?
No, I was later on. I thought I really kicked in, but we had 1 or 2, but it wasn't industrial by the time we were there.
Okay.
But I suppose my point being is I understood in 2006-07, every day your patrols would go out and get into a gun battle, and there was very little support. You might get the odd American aircraft to come help you out. I had a moment on we'd taken quite a lot of casualties in the team, and I got them up to the roof terrace, and we sat down, and I said, right guys, we're pushing hard here. We're going out every night. We've taken casualties now. We're probably going to take more casualties. I want you to stay here and have a chat amongst yourself. But my view is every time we go out, we save British, American, coalition lives. But I want you to have a chat now. And if you want to take your foot off the gas a little bit, or you don't want to be, you want time, you want to relieve the pressure, but you need to come and tell me. And before I even got up and left, they went, no.
Okay.
We're all in.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
That's a proper leader for you.
But that's
they want it. Yeah, I've heard many people wanted to. Yeah, you were the
And I sat down with them all before we left, and I said, hey, here's the reality. One of you, at least, will not be here on the return tour, and 5 of you will be injured or wounded in combat.
How many men were we talking here?
About
were you talking
25, 30.
So Jesus Christ.
And they just said, I just want you to be really clear on that. Statistically, that'll be the fact. And I was right. And we came back, we lost people. But, you got to go, these people need to know, and they knew anyway, I was experienced dudes, that, you're not all going to come back. But that gauge check in the middle, hey, we're going all in on this.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when shit goes wrong, things go down badly, people then relieve the gas.
Okay.
And if you do that, then unfortunately, you've then got to ramp it back up.
Right, okay.
Sometimes you're better just keeping the pressure right down.
Did you feel like you had the accelerator down the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to be unsure when I came back. Like I say, we did everything. Some people say my biggest task in Afghanistan was to bring everybody back alive.
Mm.
However harsh it sounds, your biggest task in Afghanistan was to achieve the mission.
Mm.
And I used to always ask, is it the man or the mission? The mission was the priority. The men were there to achieve the mission. And that's it's a really important thing in the military, because if you achieve the mission, you actually save more of the men.
Right, okay.
Which were the men doing the day in, day out, hard slog, ground-holding battalions everywhere from Kunar in the north, which was like medieval mountains, think sort of Lord of the Rings style, all the way down to the flat deserts of the Helmand. And so if we achieved our mission, we saved, I reckon, hundreds, if not thousands of coalition troops.
When you're carrying a 15-stone man or whatever over your shoulder, you're running with him on your shoulder, he's dead, but you're also getting shot at as well. Yeah,
I had my NVGs blown off by a rocket propelled grenade.
What's your NVGs?
It was not the night vision goggles.
Okay.
A rocket came past and literally took them off my head.
Right.
Luckily it didn't go off, but it wound up and took my NVGs off, my night vision goggles off. Yeah, it was a big old ding dong that day. But it's deeply sad. And the loved ones and the families left behind is a tragedy. But you join the military and you sign the dotted line, you know the risks you're going to take. And I used to always say to my family, and in particular my mum, I know the risks. If something goes wrong, one, the enemy always has a vote, and they're the ones to blame, arguably. But that's the job I've signed up to do. I'll never ask someone to do something you wouldn't be willing to do yourself. And so I always made sure that, probably to the annoyance of my blokes, that I'd always test the front. So I'd always go to the front every now and again, just to make sure they knew I was more than happy to take the risk of there.
Were you married and had kids?
Yeah. 2 boys. Yeah. And a daughter.
So you were going to war knowing that when you say goodbye, you may never see them again.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. It's the same with every
no, I'm sure, but just reality of just having this conversation is me thinking, if I left my boy now, going, well, I know you're doing a job and you're going to do a job for the country and stuff, but that's a serious thought.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And, there's not enough credit. I always say when you serve, your whole family serves.
Yes.
Because it's just as traumatic for your family that have seen you go, knowing that they may never come back.
Mm.
And so I think it's really, really important that you treat the servicemen, the service family as one. That's where we work really hard to make sure they have the right, benefits as we move forward.
What other countries have you fought in?
So, lots. The other operational tours I've done were the Arabian Gulf, where it was less fighting, more of a policing mission, but nevertheless, probably one of the most exciting and sort of free operations I had, which was, taking down these smuggling vessels coming out of Iraq. And they would board these vessels up. So they'd armor the vessels with barbed wire all the way around. They'd electrify the fences sometimes on the edge of the vessel. These are big tankers.
Yeah.
Think oil tankers.
Well, the big, massive. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like big. Probably, I'll say medium sized, but nevertheless, they were massive when you come up against them. And on the bridge, which is where the captain sits, they would armor all the windows up and they'd be sailing out of a letterbox size opening.
Right, okay.
And so you had to sneak on board what was in international waters. And then you had to cut into the bridge to get control of the ship to sail it out of, Iranian waters, territorial waters, and get it into this UN holding area.
So give me an example of a time you did that. Are you coming in a helicopter? Are you coming in a boat?
Yeah,
so climbing up it?
So we come in both. So jump over, get all 6 men on. We'd go and try and find an open door. They'd always lock the doors and sort of welded them shut. We'd find the easiest breach point, and then we'd get a still saw, and then rack the still saw up. As soon as the still saw went noisy, everyone in the ship knew we were there, and they'd try and sail it back into international waters, into national waters. And if they knew they went into Iranian waters, we'd have to get off. And then we cut through the door, and then you squeeze through the hole and then get hold of the bridge wheel and like yank it to the right, sail the ship out, and then your whole team would come through, and then you have to detain the crew, hold the crew, make sure they got all the support they require, because sometimes they're in a pretty bad state, and then we'd take the ship out. But to take it down, while we were climbing up the ladder, a helicopter would come in and fast rope people onto the roof of the ship at the same time. And this would happen in the middle of the night or just at daybreak.
How do you know whether they're armed or not? If you're going in, are you thinking, right, who do we need to look after? Who are the good people and who are the bad people here? What's the instinct you've got to be thinking of? What are you looking for at that time?
Well, I mean, you're always worried if they're armed. The reality is on these individuals, they were usually coerced or forced into trying to smuggle in these vessels. So as soon as they would fight you at the door, and as soon as you got in, you're overwhelmed, they'd just give up straight away and sit down on the ground. What was usually the case. We did hundreds of these vessels over time. Some were more aggressive than others. Like they would hook big batteries up to the rails. So when you're climbing up the side, if you held onto the rails, like one of my mates held onto the rails, literally shot off into the sea. Well, oh my God, don't touch the rails there you go. Literally like someone out of a cartoon, massive flash, and he went fly off, see the burns on his hands. And another time I was boarding up the side of the vessel, and the rib, which is the boat, came in to pick me up, and it banged into the bottom of the ladder, and as the wave took it up, it took the hooks off the ladder. So I went and fell backwards into the sea. And then so I was like yelling as I was going down the side of this massive tanker. It's like a big ship. I can hear the propeller like going like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to get chewed up by the propeller. So I shout the boat to come over. The boat comes in, and instead of like picking me up, he squashes me against the boat, like completely wins me, and then I get sucked under the ship. Like genuine, like under the ship, get dragged under the hull. God knows how I missed the propeller. Go through the propeller, and then I don't surface for about 150 meters behind the boat in the middle of the night. And I had to call this American Seahawk out with a big searchlight to come and find me. And I was like hanging out, just watching the ship go off into the distance.
Oh my God.
I was a young Marine Carns, 20 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When you're back in England and you're not on tour, what's your sort of day to day?
I always describe being in the military of training an athlete to run a race day in, day out, year in, year, and never allowing them to run the race.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
What does the athlete want to do? He wants to run the race,
of course, yeah.
The reality is, my personal view is that wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, we took over 400 dead, for example.
Hold on. There was over 400 dead.
Yeah, so there's
of our boys.
Yeah.
In what a period of time?
In Afghanistan from 2005, 6 all the way through to 19. Now that's a lot.
Yeah.
But statistically, in comparison to other conflicts, it isn't a huge amount. In Ukraine now, by the time we're doing this podcast, 12 o'clock?
Yeah.
By the time you hit 12 o'clock on the front line Ukraine, there will already have been 1,000 casualties.
Is that right?
By the end of the day, there will have been 2,000 casualties. I mean, it's incomprehensible. And so probably in 2 to 3 days, between the Ukrainians and the Russians, they will have taken the casualties we took in 20 years of Afghanistan.
Yeah, okay.
And this is my point about what do you want to do? Do you want to run your race? You always want to go in operations. I always did, because actually statistically out of those 35 guys, 25 guys, 1, 2, 3 maybe killed or wounded. Statistically, there's quite a low chance of something happening. When you go into a conflict like Ukraine, where you've got a high chance, 50% chance of getting casualty, which is similar to First World War, Second World War, suddenly it's, I wouldn't say the fun or the eagerness to redeploy goes away.
Do you think there could be a World War III and it come to Great Britain at any time?
So I've always said in this case that in the last 24 years, I've never seen the geopolitical environment so fractious and so fragile. Yeah. I just got promoted from the veterans job to the Minister Armed Forces job. And the first day of that job, we had Israeli bomb landing in Qatar and Russian drones landing in Poland. Yeah. Okay. And the difference is that in the last 20 years, we've had a choice to be involved in conflict. Like we decided Iraq, we decided Afghanistan, we've decided Libya. In the next conflict, we may not have a choice. It may be an Article 5 or a NATO obligation that we have to get involved. And the scale of a conflict against a major hostile state like Russia compared to an insurgent group in Afghanistan, or even indeed the Iraqi army in the early days is a different league. And we need to make sure that not just our military is prepared, but our nation is resilient enough to be able to deal with that, because it's one in, all in when that happens.
How dangerous is Putin?
I think he's incredibly reckless rather than dangerous. Yeah. Reckless in the fact that I think he's continually testing and pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
And the reality is he's facing the most effective military alliance in history, which is NATO.
Yeah.
And if you add up the aggregate of NATO, it is massive. We've got a lot of work to do, industrial capacity, munitions, certain types of systems. But NATO is the most effective military alliance in the history of the human race.
Okay. And that is way more than the military have got and the ammunition they've got in Russia.
Yeah. So individually, the UK could turn around and go, your standing force is 70,000 strong, the army. But when you aggregate it with Sweden, Norway, Finland, Germany, Spain, France,
What does that come to, roughly?
I'll need to check, but it's huge.
Okay.
So you end up with a standing military of like 1 million, 2 million of professional, not conscripts, professional soldiers.
Okay.
And that's really different. And then when you then go to your reserves, add that up. So the guys that do part-time, so I'm still a reserve Marine, for example. And then you go to the individuals you can then call upon to stand up and serve. You're into, it's huge. And so, NATO is a really effective defense alliance.
What's the point where Donald Trump would actually attack Russia?
Well, you got to remember that between Russia and America, they have more nuclear weapons than any other part of the world.
Would you feel confident if Putin stepped out of line and did something crazy that Donald Trump could come in with NATO and take out Russia?
So America is part of NATO.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of sort of deliberation over President Trump's commitment to NATO.
That's what I've been seeing lately.
But I think that interestingly, and I genuinely mean this, America has to deal with two concerns. One, it has to deal with a Russian conflict on the edge of Europe. And secondly, it needs to deal with a changing security architecture in Southeast Asia.
Okay.
And it really needs to focus, I think, from an American perspective on Southeast Asia, whilst ensuring Europe can deal with the problems on its eastern flank with Russia. And so I don't think you're seeing in any way, shape or form, a disinvestment from NATO. I think you're seeing a push for more of those European countries to spend more in defense, which is correct because we have been reliant on America for too long from a defense perspective. And I think Trump and the American system is now happy that that's happened. And now you're seeing them saying, absolutely, NATO is central to our alliance.
Yeah.
You're on the way to target. You're on the boat. It's rough. There's sea hitting you in the face. Guns digging into your leg. You're getting really pissed off. Everything's a bit annoying. Kick backwards. You go into the sea. Everything goes quiet.
Okay.
Nice and calm. You're in control. You know what you need to do, and away you go. The surface is like the news.
Yeah.
Everything's loud. Every small action is aggravated. Every word is championed in the social media and twisted.
Yeah.
But underneath, there's this bunch of securocrats, politicians / diplomats who keep it calm. And we always know that America is one of our biggest and most effective alliances. And
thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God.
It's so important. Yeah. Important from a military perspective, economic perspective. So irrelevant of the politics on the top, that rough stuff on the top of the combat swimming, down underneath. There's, it's balanced, it's calm, and it's collective. And long may it continue.
Thank God Donald Trump's mum's Scottish.
Well, I think, I want to say his golf course is close to Aberdeen, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
it's not
right.
East of Aberdeen.
That's right.
I need to go for a round there or something. See if I can dust off Mel's skills.
Because I'm not into politics whatsoever. When I hear that Donald Trump is supportive of Great Britain, it just gives my mind at ease, because someone who doesn't look into politics, when I see the chaos going on in Russia, but from a small family and friends around here thinking, what's going to happen to us? We've got a military of 70,000 people. We're tiny compared to anything else. What would be the situation if could he literally just press a button and send a missile to the UK, a nuclear missile? Could that happen?
Who?
The Russians.
Yeah, I mean, but then remember, we've got a nuclear deterrent. every day of every year,
Yeah.
there's a submarine,
Yeah.
subsurface, somewhere in the ocean that on board has nuclear capability. And so,
Which means
that he couldn't do that, because in return he'd receive the same. And so you end up with this thing called mutually assured destruction.
yes,
Which is what's kept nuclear peace for so long.
tick for tack.
Tick for tack.
Okay.
And it's so huge, no one would dare do it.
But if you say he's reckless, he actually could press the red button. He could send something over here. Okay, you say we can send it back to him, but by the time this country gets hit with a nuclear bomb, that's going to affect a lot of lives.
Yeah, so there's a thing called Article 5.
Yes.
Right. So imagine Article 5 is this. Imagine it as it's an agreement. Imagine it's an invisible barrier that goes up around all of our nations. If Putin does anything into that and breaks down that barrier, he triggers a response, and it's one in, all in.
Okay.
And so Vladimir Putin, for his recklessness, will recognize that if he tests NATO and NATO responds wholeheartedly,
They're finished. Right. Okay.
And that's the brilliance of NATO and its collective defense.
So going back onto your journey, Al, the journey you've gone through of all the tours, etc. When was the first time you received your medal from the Queen?
No, so I got a military cross in 2011, and I got that actually from the Prince of Wales, who's now the King.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I got a military cross.
And what was that? What was that military cross for?
That was for intense activity that took place in the mountain, which I was then very gratefully received the military cross. But it's worth noting that military cross, yes, it was given to me, but it was the team that made that operation successfully.
Yeah,
it wasn't just me; it was the guy to my left, the guy to my right.
Yeah,
the collective team made it off, and it stopped this route, which meant that a huge amount of munitions never got to the Taliban.
How many people on your team?
So we had a mixed team of our guys and Afghans as well.
You had a team of Afghans on your side as well.
Yeah.
Well, what were they getting paid off, or
no? They were
info.
No, they were our sort of specialist
insiders
forces. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they were great.
Okay.
They were good to go. They knew the language, knew the terrain.
How good were they?
They were really good. Yeah.
Did you learn anything off them?
Yeah, you always learning every day. They were good. They worked side by side with us on everything. Because, bunch of, usually white guys turning up to a bunch of Afghans, where actually you need the cultural understanding to go into people's houses and speak to them and sort of get their human intelligence and understand, and indeed just talk to them to work out where the Taliban were, where they weren't. That we talked before about the civilians and the Taliban hiding in amongst each other. Well, the best way to get that is get people from the local area who are already fighting for us to come with us.
Yeah, perfect.
And they would they'd be like, no, he's lying. And that's where they've hidden it.
Yeah.
And
Thanks, mate.
It was hilarious. It was absolutely brilliant. Some of the stuff they'd come out with was just amazingly like, nah, he's not even from here. His dialect, he's, be like Newcastle, somewhere from Newcastle in Cornwall going, yeah, I'm from Cornwall.
Yeah.
He's like, nah,
no, you're
mate. He's a foreign fighter. He's come from Pakistan. Like, all right, okay. That's
a Cockney or a Scouse.
That's exactly because we can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that feeling like, killing someone?
I don't want to talk about that. Yeah. I was really good at my job in the military. Remember, I was an officer as well, so I was often commanding the guys in the system.
But after you've done something like that, the emotion afterwards, is it quite? I've cut the emotion off because I was doing a job for my country.
No one wants to. No one should ever have to do what the military has to do.
Yeah.
The reality is, for as long as the human race exists, we probably will have to. I never will ask anybody to do anything I haven't done myself.
Yeah.
I will always put myself in harm's way before my men. But I also accept if I do that too often and something were to happen to me, it would be detrimental to my men because I'm the guy that's in charge.
Yeah, okay.
And so there's this balance.
Yeah, okay.
There's always this balance. And I've been in too many situations over my time of where you've had to run that final race. And I walked away and others haven't.
Yeah.
And I always go back to stay low, move fast.
That's your thing, isn't it?
Stay low, move fast.
I love that. I'm going to start using that. Is there a rule or is there a law when you got one-on-one with someone, when you're allowed to let loose on that person and open fire? Is there a rule in the military?
Yeah, of course there is. I mean, we're bound by international law. The reality is, if an individual is going to cause immediate harm or use lethal force, then you can engage with proportionate force to neutralize that.
Yeah,
that's a reality.
Yeah,
and that's always the case. Remember that there were some individuals, not all, in Afghanistan who were the most fundamental of foreign fighters. I mean, these guys, some of them, not all of them, but some of the guys that we came up against they would die. They all had suicide vests on. I mean, they will die before they're captured. They will run to you and blow themselves up. That's sometimes, and I always said the only advantage they had over us was a suicide bomber.
Yeah, okay.
Because they'd happily clack themselves off.
How mad is that? How mad is it to someone to put on a suicide bomb wrapped around and knowing they're just going to go charging at you and just let it off?
It's mad. And, so it's exceptionally dangerous because you never know. Like, is this guy got a suicide vest on or not? Is that his chest rig or is he a suicide vest?
Yeah. Well, what happened in Manchester yesterday?
Unbelievable. Completely unacceptable. Mad.
Was it 2 men with suicide bombs stabbing people in Manchester or something?
Yeah. So I think they've both been found that they weren't suicide bombs, but they were built to look like it.
Oh my God.
It's just completely, it's completely unacceptable in our country to have that going on any side, any religion. Don't really care. It's nuts.
Yeah. How do you feel? What's your role today?
So I'm the Minister for the Armed Forces.
Yeah. So
I look after all of our operations and policy on behalf of John Healy, who's the Defence Secretary. The good thing is that I've been on them all, but I understand the military quite well.
Yeah.
I've been on a lot of the operations already. And so I can immediately help our armed forces to make sure they get what they need to do the job we're asking them to do.
Yeah. That's why it's fantastic you come on here, Alf, because so people can actually really see who you are. Because like we were chatting off air before, they might see you, grey-haired man, built like a solid, strong man in a suit. But actually, they don't really know your background. They'll go, apparently he was military or something. But actually to hear these stories that you've been there, done it and got the T-shirt, it's going to create even more respect.
Yeah. It's what I would say in the job I'm in now. Why did I go into politics?
Yeah.
I went from one of the most respected institutions in the UK, the military.
Yeah.
Honest integrity. Stepped across to become a politician to try and deliver more change, to make sure we're ready for the next conflict, make sure our armed forces and our families and our veterans are getting what they want. Because I realized that actually that's how you deliver change on the scale that's needed. And immediately as you step across, people are like, dirty politician.
Yeah.
You're a liar.
Yeah.
You're a traitor. Of the amount of social media shit I get on, it's unbelievable. Never seen it. A lot of cases from veterans, like, you've sold us out, you've done this. Like, guys, I am fighting my very hardest to protect everything in the military because I've been in the military for 24 years. I get it. And I get visceral abuse. It's unbelievable.
Is that because, like you mentioned the words a minute ago, integrity, telling the truth? We all grew up for that. But every time we look into politicians, they're not telling the truth and they're not integral.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel stepping into it? Did you know what you were about to step into or not really?
Yeah, I worked when I was in the later end of my career, I worked for 3 sectors of state. So I worked for 3 of the Secretary of State for Defence, Michael Fallon, Gavin Williamson and Penny Mordaunt. So I understand politics. I think there is a bit where I haven't met a politician yet.
Who tells the truth?
That isn't trying to do the very best.
Yeah.
Isn't trying to do the very best.
For themselves, maybe.
Well, no, I genuinely mean this.
I disagree.
But then you give me an example of where I genuinely, all the politicians I've met, I mean this, and maybe I haven't met the bad ones yet, but they're all working like 7 days a week, genuinely 7 days a week, to try and help their constituents. And that could be, in my case, a lady in Birmingham coming to me and saying, hey, I'm going to be made homeless tomorrow.
Yeah.
How can I'm sleeping in the car with my kids. Like, how are you going to help me out? All the way through to a major life science project for 3,000 jobs, try and give jobs and, economic income into my constituency. All the way through to buying back £7 billion worth of defence housing for families, all the way through to supporting, clearances for operational permissions in a faraway country to protect this country.
Yeah.
And it's the same for every MP. We've just collectively gained such a bad reputation that the political class now, it doesn't matter if you're the best person in the world, you could be a saint, you could be in the military one day, step across the road the next day, become a politician, boom, you're a lying, filthy politician.
Well, prime example yourself. You just nailed it on the head. From everything you're telling me from 24 years as an unbelievable soldier, loyal, British, I'm fighting for my country, to then trying to help the country, people then put you straight into a bracket,
I climbed up Everest, right?
Yeah.
To raise money for charity.
Yeah.
I couldn't do 6 to 8 weeks because I didn't want to take time out from my constituency, from veterans, or indeed my political role. So I did it in 6.5 days. And people are like, unbelievable, you took 6.5 days out to climb Everest and raise £300,000 for charity.
Yeah.
So unacceptable.
Yeah. How do you deal with that?
How dare you take 6.5 days?
I remember we had this conversation before, but how are you dealing with that? You're a man who is probably the most integral human, one of the most integral humans I've ever met. You're brought up to tell the truth, and all of a sudden you're getting pulled into this whole political world where people are now slagging you off. How do you actually mentally deal with that?
It's like my view is in 3-4 years' time, at the general election, if I can lay my head in my pillow and go, I've done everything I possibly can to ensure I've achieved, for veterans, for the armed forces, for the country, for my constituency, then I'm happy. Yeah. I don't really bother about what anybody else says.
Would you care whether you were the position you're in now, whether it was Conservative, Labour or Reform? Do you not care?
So I've always been apolitical previously.
Okay.
The reason I went to Labour, and this is the one thing that holds me to Labour, is about social mobility. So this country is made up of the working class. That's a reality. I was given an opportunity, and I had the choice of the rigs, northeast Scotland, go on the rigs as roughneck, probably, military, or go slightly off the rails. I chose the military, and I got all the opportunity, and I end up where I am today. Yeah. And no one's a self-made man. You always get help by people to sort of project you through life. The analogy I use is, if a flower is wilting, you do not deal with the flower. You deal with its environment. Yeah. You deal with the soil, the pH, the water, the food, the pruning. It's the same with people in this country. The reason people don't succeed or don't realize their ambition is because the opportunity and the environment isn't there from the first place. So how do we, and Labour is big on this, how do we create the environment to allow people to realize their ambitions? That's what it's all about. How do we create it? Because there are some sections of society that born into a terrible deal. Yeah. And we've got to level that out. And we've got to do it. And I'm absolutely passionate about 3 things. 1, how do we create the healthiest nation in the world? At the moment, we are the sick man of Europe. I mean, what is going on? And we wonder why our NHS is really struggling. That's because kids now, some of them have muscle wastage because they're not even out playing anymore. Yeah, absolutely. And people, the sugar and everything you go down, every aisle you go down, sugar. It's cheaper.
Ultra processed food. People don't know what they're putting in their body.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So how do we educate our country to really take care? And the reality is, me and you, I'm sorry, we're done. We're already got our habits. But a 60-year-old now, maybe 16 at the end of a Labour government. They may be 11 at the end of a Labour government. We can inculcate into them healthy living, better mental and physical awareness. Yeah. Like, let's just get that done. That's spend to save. The second bit, from my perspective, is education. Like, I went to I enjoyed it, a good school, average, normal school. How do we make ourselves an education superpower? The reality is, across the world, you will never see a great education system and a faltering economy put together. Like, the two don't go together. Yeah. When you have a poor education system, you end up usually having a poor economy. So how do we prime the education sector? And that's absolutely critical. And then the third one is, we're out of Europe now. How do we make Britain become the business center of both Europe and the globe again? Like, how do we make it really positive for business to set up here?
Stop taxing everyone. That's high taxes.
But this is the problem. So you go to number 1 and number 2. Yeah. That the reality is, and we've got to own. Yes, the Conservatives, left, so black. Well, we've got to own it now. But you can't do everything you want to do. And so some really difficult...
But it's not incentivizing. As an entrepreneur and running free business, it's not incentivizing. I'm staying here. I'm staying in this country. I've got 10, 15 mates gone, well, I'm going to Cape Town. I'm going to Portugal. I'm going to Dubai. And these wealthy millionaires are leaving. These millionaires employ lots of people. Yeah. These are the brains behind our country. Yeah. And we're just losing them left, right and centre. There's 1,000 millionaires and multi-millionaires each month leaving the country. That's not cool. You know, we are this country is the bedrock of small businesses, and small businesses can't make money at the moment because the government are putting up the taxes and squeezing everyone. So this is another interesting fact. You know, politics aside, 75% of the taxes come from 25% of the population. Yep. But when you try and describe that, it gets twisted. Mm. And so I go back to this spend to save model on health, education, business, etc. We've really got to focus on the 3-4 big ticket items and drive it home. When you boil all this down, when you round it all down, the reality is, from my perspective, this is about creating an environment that's really positive to be brought up in, gives you equal opportunity, allows you to realize your ambitions, just like I had. The reality is, I would have gone to rigs, or I would have gone wayward. I went to military and I got given a great opportunity. We need to do that for the youth of the nation. But to get to that, we need a leader who's optimistic. Hey, you saw the party conference. Come on, he was super optimistic. Mate, is he your boss? Yeah. Well, John Healy's my boss, the defence secretary. I find this hard, this bit here. And the reason I'm finding it hard, because you're a leader. You're optimistic. You've got everything that this country wants. We've got a leader who's pessimistic. Oh, right. So that's and I'm finding it hard. And he's not a leader of people. His first day in has got, guys, there's going to be a nightmare leading forward. It's not cool for our country. So there's different types of leaders. Remember where Labour parties come from. So the Labour Party was formed, I always say, it was chiselled out of the mines in North East England, the coal miners. Mm. It was hammered out of the shipyards in Govan, Northern Ireland, Liverpool. And it was formed through the trade unions of the Industrial Revolution, the factories across this country. Like, it was hardcore working class. It shifted several years ago to quite far left under Corbyn. Mm. And, you know, I wouldn't be in the Labour Party if Corbyn was running it now. Mm. And then it's taken a monumental leadership and shift to bring it from the far left, middle left, to where the most of this population sits, which is the centre left, centre right. Decent, transparent, honest people. Mm. That is leadership. Of all the ins and outs of politics, that is leadership to bring the party to there. And now we've just got to get the country back on its feet. When we talk about pessimistic, the worst type of leaders are the ones that downplay this country, talk about negativity, spread division, and then give themselves the credit of being the only answer to the problems of which they've made. Mm. And I'm not going to name any names here, but some of the policies that I've heard coming out of other parties, for example, if you're in the military and you said to me, right, Al, talk me through the planning, which you did a minute ago. If someone said to me, right, I want you to go and attack that bridge, and I went, right, no problem, how are we going to do it? And they said, I don't know. I wouldn't follow that guy to the toilet. Yeah. Because that's what you're getting from one or two parties. Yeah. Who are coming out, hey, we're going to get 150 billion back from, diversity and inclusion. Mm. We're going to get rid of it all. It's like, you ain't going to make 150 billion. You might make 10 million. Well done. We're going to kick everybody out on indefinite leave to remain. We're going to kick out people who've been here for 6 years that have got families in schools that are paying their taxes. You're going to kick them all out. Worst idea I've ever heard. Hold on a second. I fought 5 tours in Afghanistan. You're going to kick women and girls back to Afghanistan to be flogged to death by the Taliban? Mm. Niche. Mm. I ain't following you. Mm. Think through your policies. Mm. Stop trying to sow division, sow negativity, and then present yourself as the only solution. There are no easy solutions. I get your point. We've got to go harder, faster, bigger, stronger. I get that. But we need to be careful we don't drag ourselves down, gold-laced path that ends up in a disaster. I said early on, a vision without a plan is a dream. There's every risk. If we follow certain leaders, you'll go, a vision is a plan is a nightmare because they haven't thought it through. Do you know what I was thinking would be a great thing to do? What? Every Sunday night, 7 p.m, the whole nation watches on BBC or whatever channel it is, and we call out the politicians who have been caught out lying. Yeah.
that may go down really well. I mean, some of the stats.
Wouldn't that just be a beautiful thing? Do you not think that would be a thing where people are then made accountable for? Because I don't really know politics, but this last year I've paid more attention to the way I've seen our country go. That I've paid more attention to see what's going on. We were taught and we would grow up, have integrity and tell the truth. So why don't we call it 7 p.m., call it, politicians who have caught out lying because we can prove it because they said that 6 months ago. Now they're saying this, call them out. I think that'd be wonderful.
I actually...
would you back that?
So I always back explanation around things that we've said or done. My honest view is when you sit down and talk to people about the difficult policy you've got to make, usually there is no issue. So you get the far left and the far right will, be concerned. But the majority of people are like, okay, I get it now. The problem is that in today's society, and this is a problem that we have for our children, whether we like it or not, they take most of their information 15 to 35 seconds off social media. And so your ability to explain the detail behind your decision making is like impossible because they switch off and they flick.
But that's the beauty of long form content like this, because you can't hide from this.
Exactly.
Not you. I'm saying people who have long form, so you can't hide from it because there's nothing, doesn't get edited. It's like boom.
And that's why I think this is really important.
Yeah.
Like people sit down, have decent conversations and stay engaged and listen.
Yeah.
Because today's society, they're on dopamine hits when they turn left and right on the switch.
I want to go back. You got your first medal, 2011. What was your next medal?
I got OBE from I forgot Princess Anne gave me the OBE.
And what was that for?
That was for my role in commanding as a commanding officer. So I was a commanding officer of a unit, and we did some really good work, ranging from protecting the UK all the way through to overseas work. And I got recognised in the honours list for it.
Massive respect, by the way.
Oh, cheers.
OBE.
Thanks. Yeah.
Do you, when you write your name, do you whack on the end OBE?
Yeah, it's really sad. It goes.
It's not sad, man. It's proud.
DSO, OBE, MC, MP.
Is that what it is? Go on, say that again. Say that again. So, Al Carnage. Al Carns, go on.
Yeah, I was going to. People. I was trying to keep that down because they could skew that in the media all sorts of ways. Carnage strikes again. The DSO, OBE.
DSO.
So the next medal I got after the OBE was a Distinguished Service Order.
Lovely. From
the King. So DSO, OBE, MC, MP.
MC?
Military Cross.
And the last one?
Member of Parliament.
Member of Parliament.
Yeah, for my sins.
Is your mum still about?
Yeah, she's a legend.
She must be super proud, right?
She's a legend. Well, she brought up 5 kids.
And that's what I'm saying. 5 kids by herself.
I went back, Dodge. Christmas time. She's in the same house.
And
I went
She's still in the same house.
Yeah. And I went to the bedroom. It's just like a squirrel. She hoards everything. So all the old toys are there. So I bring my kids up there. Go get my old toys out. So it's good reminiscing. But they went out to my bedroom. I was like, how the hell did my two brothers 6 foot as well. How did 3 boys for 6 years stay in this room? 2 double beds. It's hilarious. I mean, it must have caused. I mean, my kids nose me out now when I'm in a a relatively decent sized house. 5 kids in that house. Hilarious. Good banter though.
I bet.
It's a good banter when we go back up as well.
How do you want to be remembered?
Good dad. That's what I want. I want a good dad. I'd like to make some change that sticks. So this Valor program we launched for veterans, got to make that stick.
Yeah.
Let's redo how we look after our veterans. And then I'd like to make sure our armed forces are ready and good to go should anything happen. So I'm always trying to push the system forward a little bit.
What can you personally do to help the veterans?
So I've just come out of the veterans job, been in it for a year. The reality is a postcode lottery across the UK when you're looking for help. And when you look for help as a veteran, you have to tell your story between 6 and 9 times to land on the right charity or the right bit of the system to get the right help. It's a mess. Some are really good. Some systems are really good. Some systems aren't so good. There's 1,730 plus military charities in the UK.
Bloody hell.
There's a £1 billion industry.
1,700 charities just in the UK?
Plus. And there's £1 billion in the industry. But yeah, we have veterans going without.
Yeah.
And the reason that's happened is because the government has never taken responsibility for our veterans.
Yeah.
So all these really good people have started their own charities. in the middle of Afghanistan. When I stepped in last year, I said, hey, the government needs to take a bit of responsibility for this. Not to dampen down the flexibility and agility of these charities, but to ensure that we can help them focus their effect on the right way, make this money go further. And so that was this Valor program, which looks at sort of a new headquarters, liaison officers, field officers going into the councils to make sure they're held to account, and then Valor centres across the country that provide sort of your door to open if you need to go get help.
Can you tell me why our homeless veterans aren't put into hotels and looked after?
Yeah, so here's some statistics for you. RBL did some brilliant statistics.
RBL?
Royal British Legion.
Yeah.
Perception versus reality. You're less likely to be homeless if you're a service personnel. But the perception is you're far more likely to be homeless. It's really interesting, the stats. The stats are you're going to be damaged if you join the military. When we think of veterans, we always think of people who have been damaged, because those 1,733 charities need to raise money, and the way you raise money is that you describe your most needy individual that needs the most need. And as a result, the perception in society at the moment is like, you join the military, you are going to be damaged physically or mentally.
Yeah.
The reality, 83% of all military leave the services, go straight into employment. And a large percentage of them we never hear from again. But there is a chunk that need lots of help, and a chunk that need even more help. And we've got to make sure we look after them. And so there's a multitude of charities out there from a homeless perspective. I launched the Fortitude program that's put in just recently, another 3.4 million. We've housed over 900 people. We've had 2,000 referrals. We're working at it to get as many.
Do we know how many homeless veterans there are on the streets? Do we actually know that fact?
There's a rough stat.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting bit. We don't even know how many veterans we've got. Like, it's mad. Yeah. So we were talking about NATO and Russia early on. Right, army goes to fight. The reserves stand up. They start to create training centres and other army. Then we need to recruit more people to feed the army. The best people to go straight into that are veterans, because there's hundreds of thousands of them between, sort of 19, 20 years old to 55 that have left the military, who have been trained, know what they're doing, have different skills. We don't even know where they are.
Yeah.
We roughly can tell you. So, and for example, I was just east of Liverpool the other day. There's about 6,000 in that constituency. Can roughly tell you, but I can't tell you who they are. I can't tell you what they've done. Can't tell you I can pull them back in. And in the Cold War, we knew exactly those details.
Is there not a hub where, if I'm on the street and I've served my country, I'm Brassic, I've got nothing, I'm sleeping on the streets, is there not a hub that these men can go to and say, I am homeless, can you put me in a hotel, please?
So there's 700.
Every night of the week for 365 days a year, so I can get myself clean and healthy and back on track again.
700 hubs. The difference is that those hubs provide different sort of set standards and capabilities, because there's no regulation. So there's 700 of them. There's various different housing charities, in particular help people who may have an addiction or go off the rails a little bit, to help them pull on, provide them some stability. It's sort of transitory housing. So they go in, they get the full welfare wrap, and then they get pushed into private rental and they get monitored and try and get them back up on track. So there are hubs across the country. But this goes back to my point about there is no standard set of services that is uniformed across the country. And it depends where you are. If you're lucky enough to live next to one of those charities, you might get into it. But if you're somewhere else, and I'm just picking at Cornwall or in the Highlands of Scotland, you ain't going to have access.
But it's more difficult to get into housing than it is to go, there's a hotel there that's got 400 rooms. You lot, veterans, thank you so much. Massive respect to you, everything you've done. You've all got a bed, guaranteed. Why can't we do that?
Yeah, so I mean, the reality is, for example, in Birmingham, where I am at the moment, there's a deficit of tens of thousands of houses. There is no easy solution to the housing problem other than to build more houses. And the government has committed to do that. But it's going to take a lot of time.
A lot of time. They're talking about building. That's not going to last.
It's going to take a huge amount of time. But the one biggest...
1.5 million houses are going to be, but that's not going to happen. Every big developer I know is going, everyone's looking and going, that's not going to happen. They're just talking about it.
But if we can even get a percent... So there's a balance in government. And this is the bit about, I suppose, linked to not the lying bit, but promising lots and delivering little. Of where
could be called lying.
Well, it's because what you've got to do with the system, and I do this quite a lot. You got to push right a mark. So I got to say, hey, listen, I want you to deliver, this many houses, because I accept that if I don't push the system as hard as possible, they'll come left of wherever my aim and mark is. And so I've always had this policy in my leadership is I'm going to go hard right. And I'm going to accept, I want to get hard right, but I'm going to accept the system will never be able to achieve that.
Yeah.
And they're going to drop left of it.
Yeah.
Bureaucracy, paperwork, red tape, price of materials, free, money, etc. If you go half on your speedometer, you're going to get a quarter. And if you go quarter, you ain't coming off. You ain't coming off zero.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm not saying this is a government policy, but I've always in mind been like, hey, far right.
Yeah.
How much do you need for Valor? 20 million? No. I want 30.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm going to accept, or in fact, I want 50.
Yeah.
So I accept I'm not going to get 50, but it'll drop left. If I go 30, I'll get 50.
Yeah.
And so I was pushed to the right.
What would you say to any veterans out there who might be slagging you off or have slagged you off in the position you're in right now? Yeah,
so first of all, the grassroots feel super important to me. So constructive and balanced arguments say, I disagree with that. We could do this. And I try and get back to as many people as I can, but there's hundreds of people come every day. One of the big issues is Northern Ireland. Yeah. So the Northern Ireland legacy issue, you'll see that bumping around. The reality is the last legacy act that we put in place, which gave, sort of immunity to both terrorists and veterans, would not have survived contact with international human rights, ECHR, or even our own courts. So it would always have been legally challenged. So we ended up in this position, we had to rewrite the Legacy Act. When I spoke to all the veterans groups, went out there and said, right, they're like, hey, listen, if you're going to, don't take away immunity, because what's happening is in Northern Ireland, they're using the process to punish us. They know that none of us will be found guilty, but they're using the process to drag us back to courts and sort of punish us for service in Ireland. And so we've designed these 6 protections to put in place to ensure that process doesn't become the punishment, and to ensure that no one can rewrite the history that in Northern Ireland, 90% of all the casualties and killed were caused by the IRA or other terrorist groups. And so what I would say is I am digging out blind to support veterans, support the armed forces, and support the military, indeed, and make the country a better place. But I accept I'm never going to be able to achieve everything for everybody.
For everyone, yeah.
And they're really difficult decisions.
Yeah.
At no point do I sit and go, I'm going to see how I can make life harder for veterans.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Would you support Ant Middleton becoming the Mayor of London?
So I support anybody to run for the Mayor of London. I just want to make sure that London ends up as a really progressive and safe place as we move forward.
Do you think London's a safe place as we sit today?
Statistically, it's safer than when we took over. And again, but this is it. Statistics.
When you I don't believe a word.
100% of statistics are incorrect.
Yeah, that's right. But
the point being is, again, like interrogate these facts because people use it to, hey, don't get me wrong, it needs to be safer. There is there's an interesting point. When you were young, Dodge, right? When did you ever see extreme violence or pornography? When you were really young?
I grew up with a lot of violence.
10, 15?
Yeah, I grew up living above pubs. So we had doormen, bouncers back in the day. So I was always hanging around the doors as a 6-year-old, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so I saw a lot of stuff kids shouldn't see. But your normal kid probably wouldn't have seen it till he was an adult, 16, maybe 17.
So like murder, death, killing, you might catch the back end of a movie your dad's watching.
Yeah.
You see the odd fight.
Yeah.
You'll see a bit of violence at school. You'll see some cartoons with violence in it. Pornography, very rarely ever see it at a young age. Now, one swipe of your finger, you're exposed to the most extreme violence and the most extreme sexually explicit images. And as a result, it normalizes as you get older. Yeah. So the biggest group of the biggest group of rapists we have growing in the country, guess what age they are?
Go on.
14.
Okay. 14
years old.
Is this the same as 100% stats are made?
14 years old. But do you know why? Because they're seeing it at such an early age.
Bloody hell.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, violence, safety, we have a societal issue of where access to, and you'll see on your phone, the algorithms pick up on it and they keep feeding you stuff. And so by the time you get to 22, 23, you've seen extreme violence for like 7, 8 years. Whereas usually that would be the prevail of the police force or
around
the military or, you just wouldn't see it.
Do you think the UK's got freedom of speech as we sit today?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I believe in freedom of speech.
I believe in freedom of speech. Do you think we got it as we sit today under the new Labour?
Yeah, I think so.
I disagree.
Okay, what way?
I just don't think people just haven't got that freedom of speech. Though they have people are getting put in prison for 2 years for doing tweets or Facebook messages or this and that. It feels like the whole country's being suppressed.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'd need to have a look into the sort of stats on how many people have been arrested for that. The
only way we see it, this is interesting, you're going back to the socials and what have you, the only way we can see it really is freedom of speech is when you do see X or Twitter and you're seeing police going around into an old person's house and saying, I saw you wrote something about Facebook, you'll come with me, put the handcuffs on. It's like, wow, is that really happening in our country? It really shocks me. Really shocks me.
So that may be the one thing that shocks you. What may flip the sort of shock level the other way is that, for example, the largest percentage of crime in Birmingham is domestic violence.
Yeah.
You never hear about it. But you hear about that one grandma getting her handcuffs on.
Yeah.
And so, again, this is the point of what energizes the population. And when you really delve into the detail, what is don't get me wrong, it's a slippery slope on freedom of speech. But what have we got to deal with as a government? Is it domestic violence or is it those issues?
It's whoever takes over as government, I think it's a difficult job.
It's a really
difficult job.
But it starts right at I go back to, we talked about the 6 to 10 to 14-year-old.
Yeah.
It starts early on. Like, I genuinely believe the more accustomed and the more violence you see early on makes it more acceptable
later in life. Yeah.
The counterbalance to that is another interesting. I was speaking to a psychologist the other day. When you were young and you read a book or you saw like a ladybird book. I remember a ladybird book. So it's a random one, but it's quite funny. The red hen gets pulled in the bag by the fox. The fox falls asleep, jumps out, puts a stone into the bag. The fox takes the bag, goes, "Hey, mother fox, I've got the hen," empties the bag into the cauldron of hot water. The splash comes out and the foxes die. That was a kid's book. The foxes are dead. And I used to always think it's a bit harsh. But the reason that they used to include life realities in books for a young age was because it prepares you to deal with it in an older age. Books now for children have no real life skills. There's very little dealing with death or emotions. It's all about everyone's friendly and nice and caring and loving. And so when young kids get to teenage or a bit older, and someone at school turns around a book and turns around and goes, I don't care about your feelings. Shut up. Yeah. You're like, hold on a sec. Whoa, I'm not prepared for this. Yeah. No, this isn't how I was brought up. This isn't what I read. This is what I taught about. And so we've got to make sure we prepare our children for life. Yeah. And that's everything from reading, from social media. Right. And as we go through, it goes back to my environment piece. If we think that Britain is not as good as it should be, it's not individuals' fault. Yeah. It's an environmental issue that we've got to sort. I would say. Yeah.
It's true. Very, very true. Al, I've really, really enjoyed this conversation.
It's been good.
It's been really good.
It's been fun.
Yeah, been really fun. I don't know where we're going to take it. We've taken it all over the places. We've covered a lot of topics.
Gone from children's books to Afghanistan.
Fighting, shooting. Al, it's been a pleasure, mate. And this is called Eventful Lives. Yeah. You've certainly lived an eventful life.
It's been good. I look back on my life and I genuinely, I've made mistakes.
Yeah.
And oh boy, I've messed up and I've failed things. But I genuinely, on the whole, have loved my life.
Yeah.
And I've done everything I've wanted to do. And I just want to do more, make this country great.
Yeah. Amazing. You're a good man.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Good to see you.
Yeah, and you, bud. Cheers, mate. Thanks for watching, guys. If you'd like to see someone on the show, leave a comment below. And if you haven't already, do us a favour, show us a bit of love, press the subscribe button, and it allows us to grow the show even bigger and bigger each week. Nice one.